Welcome back to another episode. Ryan here with Chaos MMA, and today we have on the wild one, Michelle Montague, who makes her professional debut at PFL Challenger Series 3. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Yeah, just training, ticking the boxes, and getting set to go.
No doubt, and we'll definitely get into that later on. But I just wanted to ask you, did you get to catch any of the fights last night?
Yeah, I watched all of them. That was it was a pretty good card, and to see three of the Kiwi boys and a couple of Aussies in there was super highly motivational.
No doubt. And what did you think about the main event with Whitaker and Adesanya? How did you personally score that? Because many people were mixed around. Many people thought Izzy won like 48, 47. What did you have it?
Well, Izzy did win.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, what was your scorecard? Yeah, Izzy did win. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Rob. I thought Rob got. Was it round two maybe?
Yeah, it
Was
was.
it might have been round two maybe? And you could argue, okay, the last round, but like I did not have him for 3 rounds, definitely not.
Yeah,
And when I was watching too, because I'm like, okay, the commentators are for sure like heavily biased to one side, but that's like I guess natural in a sense. Like they're fighters, that's like I get it, but I was trying to watch without a bias like
yeah,
mindset. I was trying to just watch it and be like, okay, if they weren't talking about like our guy so much, like what would I be thinking? And I was like, oh, he's definitely landing more like higher numbers. Like even though there wasn't a great volume in the whole time, he was landing more numbers. And the couple times that Rob took him down, he did no damage off it. So okay, he got a takedown, but he didn't land a single strike off it.
yeah.
So it's like people saying that Rob won. I'm like, no, just
I
look at
know.
the numbers. They don't lie. Like I get that he won, probably 2 rounds.
Yeah,
But in a 5 round fight, that's not even half of them. So yeah, I mean, Izzy did so well with his wrestling that. Yeah, okay, he got taken down cleanly only twice that whole time, like 2 clean takedowns, and then got no damage and got back up. So I mean, if you're wanting to take the belt, you've got to like make it clear that you won.
yeah. And I feel like with the takedowns these days, like people just think, oh, you take them down, that should be scored so high. But like you said, Whitaker didn't control him at all. So like, how are you
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say like that's
I
such a
mean, in the IMAFs, that is literally how it is. Though you take them
yeah,
down, like the judges are so grappling heavy mindset, and they seem to score that so highly. I mean, even favored against our team a couple times at the World Champs. So, but in this, it's a whole different game.
yeah, no doubt. It was a great night of fights, no doubt. But as we know, you're making your PFA debut soon. And when did you first hear about this? And how excited are you to go out there and make your professional debut?
I heard about this opportunity. Would have been like in December when I was over in Ireland, and I had a message come through and asking about it if I'd be interested, and asked a couple key people, and then was like, "Hell yeah, I'm interested." Needed to see out the end of my obviously IMAF circuit, and was very keen to do so as well. So yeah, worked on that, and then yeah, came from there.
No doubt. And I got to ask you, will you be making a trip before or after to Universal or Disney when you're down there to check out the rides and everything?
Well, I used to work for Disney World for a
Oh,
year as a lifeguard, so I could go to the parks like kind of whenever I wanted to, and like crowds. I'm not a city girl at all, so
yeah.
crowds, screaming kids, and the heat all combined is it's a big hell no to me. So it's, I mean, I might go because I've got friends that work there obviously still, and I could get in without having to pay like 50% of what I fight for to get in. Um, but probably will save it for when I go. Epcot be cool because it's just food and drinks, and that's a big yes from me.
Yeah, like you said with the heat, I remember I went down with my family back in the summer a while ago, and it was just so hot. Like it
It's
wasn't
so
that
bad.
enjoyable. Yeah, it was tough to be down there during the
Oh,
summer. Sure.
so yeah, when you combine all those factors together, it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
hard to get there. But Epcot, you just walk around, eat, drink, see things, and I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely cool down there. And For you though, do you feel this is the perfect moment to make your professional debut? Because you have a ton of amateur fights under your belt, so you kind of do have that experience now. So is that something you think that's going to help you for your debut in March?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting when I was talking with someone else, saying like, for example, the girl I'm fighting has had 6 pro fights,
Yeah.
and like, they weren't against no bums either. Like, she's had legit fights. Um, she's had maybe I think 5 or so amateur, kind of like a normal amount, if not more so normal for most American girls, and that equals what 11 or 12 fights. And I think I've had 12 or 13 amateur
Yeah.
fights.
Yeah.
So we actually have had the same amount of fights. Obviously, hers have been higher stake, you could argue, and obviously some different rules in there, and against probably more established girls, like most probably. So there is that difference. But in terms of actually fighting and having it on, for yourself at the time, a pretty big scale, we, at least balance that out, and having those amateur fights be like, you'd never rack up that many amateur fights if you were just doing like regional shows around New Zealand, Australia. There wouldn't even be 12 girls in your division across the whole Australasia to fight. It's certainly not within 2 years.
Yeah.
So doing the IMF circuit, you go, whether it's to Russia or Bahrain or Abu Dhabi, wherever you do the tournament, you'll get one if you lose, or 3 or 4 if you win, fights in 1 week. So you rack up these experiences pretty quickly and a quick turnaround. So you end up having quite a lot of amateur fights, but it's in the least amount of tournaments and time frame that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And obviously, being from around the world, you get such a big array of opponents and skill sets and things like that there. So I think that'll be huge for me going into a pro debut against someone on paper much more established, but on the back burner, I've got all this experience to go with it.
Yeah, it's definitely like an interesting format too, the PFL Challenger Series and everything. And like, what are your thoughts on the format with just how like you win, you get a fight, you keep winning, you get the fight? How do you like that format?
Well, I'm not sure if everyone understands it, because I've had a few different questions come my way about it. And I think some people think it's a tournament, or that you fight multiple fights for the contract. But that's not my understanding. And I would hope I
Oh,
have the
okay.
right understanding, being the part of it.
Yeah.
So like we have there's these 7 or so nights over Friday nights over the course of these weeks or whatever. And the there'll be the 4 fights, I think 4 fights each night, or 5, whatever
Um,
it is. I think it's 4.
4.
And
Okay.
yeah, and so everyone will fight. They'll give out one spot in the regular season on that night.
Yeah.
In my mind, that strikes me as that one fight in our group that has the 2 girls that are super established professional fighters, like a pretty extensive record, and they're paired up to fight each other. So that would be my inkling, is one of these girls will get the spots in the season, because they'll be able to hold their own in amongst these, the likes of the Kaylas and that there and the Taylors and stuff that have already been fighting for such a long time in that. And then all the other 3 fights, assuming here would be these 3. Whoever wins, basically, if they like what you put on and all that there, and you do well, then they'll offer you a developmental contract. So
Okay.
basically, you'll fight under the PFL umbrella, but not in the regular season, and you'll get paid each fight and that there, going forward for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, depending on how much development you need to then be ready to go into the regular season
Yeah.
with their pool of athletes. So you'll be in their pool, and I guess you could be called up and brought in at any stage. But at the start, you'll have a chance to develop underneath their umbrella.
Okay. And do you like this format better than like others, like would say like Bellator, UFC, like you fight and then you have like a contract talk and all that, and like, and
Yeah.
if you like this format personally better for
Oh,
yourself?
100%. Like, I've come from a background of like 20 years of rugby, and you have your pool of fighters, your
Yeah.
players, and your schedule for the year. This we're fighting all these are all when we're sort of playing or whatever. These are our trainings. This is what we're aiming for each time. This is the finals. This is the semi-finals. Like, for me, that's like that's something that I'm so used to, and I love that format. And then to go into the IMF tournaments and the IMF say calendar for the year, so it's like a baby PFL in that sense. You have like the Oceania champs, you have the Pan Americans, you have the European champs. When all these events are, you know how the pooling works. There's a pool of girls, it's a random draw except for seeded athletes. You go into say the world champs and like your plan for the week, the the knockout style of the tournament, everything like that there. So for me, coming off of the sports I've done and the format they've been in, this like is highly attractive the way they run this. And it's awesome to know like how many fights you'll be fighting in a year.
For sure.
When they will be, where they will be, in essence, and how much you'll get for each one. I feel like that's so simple.
Yeah, and this is like a great benefit for you because, like you said, you're used to this format, so like you're
Yeah.
kind of know what to expect and everything now. So it's probably gonna help you a lot and everything.
Oh yeah, just mentally, I love that. I'm not this like I don't know if it's because I'm like probably a little bit ADD or what it is, but I just need to know what's happening ahead of time. I like to plan for it. I like to have a set goal, like I guess like every athlete does, and to know like where it'll be, what I need to know, like especially if I'm traveling from NZ, do I need to live somewhere, like all this stuff, like is a lot of info to handle, and just to have the set schedule for the year and be able to work towards that, a few months at a time. Not like, will I get a fight in 3 months? Will they get me a matchup? Who will it be? Like, no, we know our pool of athletes, and that's our year. Um, and like when your break is, when you're fighting for the whole 12 months.
Yeah, because it can be tough, like as you see with like the other promotions, like they don't even know when their next fight could be sometimes and everything because
Yeah,
they don't like you have to get your opponent to sign and everything. So
yeah,
like this seems like it's gonna benefit you a lot and everything.
yeah. And they also have like, because it's a pool of athletes,
Yeah.
all in the same weight, and you all know who each other is for the most part. If someone gets injured or has to pull out, they always have. So there's that as well. You're not like, oh, the fight's called off because so and so got COVID. It's like, no, the fight's still on because we've got a pool of fighters to choose from that all like know each other's in the pool, and we can just plonk that person in.
Yeah, no doubt. Great format. I really do like it. It's very nice to see how you like it too. And where have you been training for this fight? Where have you been at?
This camp is unique. I am stuck in quarantine in New Zealand, so I'm doing a little stint of my camp inside a hotel room with an assault bike and floor space. So that's different. But luckily, I've just come off obviously my world champs, so I had 2 fights in 2 days over there, and I had the camp building up to that. So basically, the plan now is just like put size back on, keep the muscles super conditioned, and like those 2 things are fun things to do.
Yeah,
Eat and make your muscles fit. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And obviously as much mental repping as you can, and wrestling and striking that I can do solo as well. So that's cool. I've got a big enough space in here to make that happen. Before that, obviously I was stuck in another sort of quarantine lockdown thing in New Zealand when I came back from overseas. Before Worlds, I was again like a bit of a rough camp for that. But I'd been at mostly I'd spent 3 months at ATT. So so the camps for these last 2 have been pretty unique, and I'm honestly looking forward to having a fucking normal camp after this.
I bet you are. So like right now you're just training like in a little small space. Are you getting to train with like other bodies to help you out with this fight?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
been before I came into the quarantine, and I will once I get out. There's just a little 2 week stint in the middle where it's solely focused on conditioning, and consuming as many carbs as I basically can.
Well, I hope eventually it gets better and everything. And you mentioned ATT. Did you get to train with Kayla Harrison? Because I know she's in the PFL, as we all know. She's a free agent right now, but the rumors are that she is going to resign. We'll see how it goes. Did you get to train with her at all and everything?
Yeah, we had a lot of sessions together. I was, turns out, a perfect body size because I walk around heavier than a lightweight weighs in. So for us to train together was good for her fight coming up, and I mean good for me in many ways. So we had some good drilling sessions with her and Mike, like a few times a week, on top of everything else we're doing. And that was highly beneficial in terms of someone that executes what I like to do in a fight and they execute it like perfectly. And to be able to train with that and learn from her and the coaches as well was yeah, something that I highly value.
Yeah, because ATT, one of the best gyms in the world, like you said, Mike Brown, isn't he like one of the smartest minds in the game, in your opinion? Like when you were working with him, like you saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
He some coaches are also really, really good, and but women are just they learn differently, I feel, for the most part, and drill differently and all that, and you need a certain type of patience because we've got so many questions and we're so literal. But yeah, he handles that very well. I think like the three main coaches I've had in the last couple of years, like that are all still like coaching me, like they all are very good with coaching women, and that's a key factor as well. So yeah, Mike definitely ticks that box, you know.
no doubt. Mike is a great mind in the game and everything. And the last few things here, thanks for coming on again. Olivia Parker, your opponent, she does have experience, like we were mentioning, Bellator, Invicta. Now, how do you think this one's going to play out with all that?
I mean, she's gonna do her thing, probably the same sort of stuff she's been doing. I'm still, you know, a baby in the game in essence, and growing and developing. Like every fight, I look like a completely different fighter to for the most part. So, yeah, I'm excited to put that to the real test of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you had to say official round or official finish or submission, what do you think it is? How do you think you
Yeah,
get it done?
I'd be keen for a 15-minute push. You know what I mean? I don't like leaving things to decision for the most part. That's not how my fights go. Um, we're both strong grapplers, and like I back my wrestling. You know, I back it. So I could see this. I could see this being a pretty wrestling scrambling focus fight. Um, yeah, we're gonna see how that goes.
Well, I'm excited to see this fight. It's going to be great to watch in a couple of weeks. And once again, thanks for coming on. Good luck for your fight. And if you want to thank any sponsors, shout out any social media, the floor is yours.
Oh no, because then I'll forget someone. It won't be cool.
So nothing, no social media or anything. You're good.
Oh no, no, you're right. It's just Wild One MMA pretty much for everything.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming on again, and good luck for your fight in a couple of weeks. I'll definitely be tuning in.
Cool, man. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Have a good one. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah, man.